Hey, does your strumming sound less than musical, even though you know a number of different strum patterns? Well, you're not alone. In this video, I'll show you 3 simple exercises that'll help you add dynamics, improve your timing, and add groove to your rhythm. Let's do this. Hi, I'm Tomas Michaud from Real Guitar Success, where I help you learn guitar and, more importantly, really love the journey. When I first started out, I thought rhythm guitar was all about knowing a lot of different strum patterns. I was wrong. And I see the same mistake with many of the students starting out. The key to getting a good strum is to learn control over your dynamics, your timing, and which strings you're actually picking on. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of stuff to keep track of. Here are 3 practical exercises that'll give you the edge that you need. Be sure and stay till the end because I'll give you an action plan that'll help you put this into practice. Okay, a couple of quick ground rules before we get started. We're going to be working on timing, on which strings you actually pick, and then finally dynamics. We're going to use the entire time what we call a pendulum motion. That means your hand will go down and then up, down and up. Equal distance roughly. Try not to go too high or too low because it makes it hard to get back on time when you start speeding up. Down and up. I'm going to be using your pick. It might be a good idea to start with just your fingers because you don't have to worry about how well you're holding the pick. If you'd like some help with the pick, I've made a separate video and I'll put a link, I think, up in that corner there so you can check that out too. And finally, it's always better to start slow and then pick up your speed little by little, always keeping the timing and the things you're working on in mind so that you're not sacrificing quality for going faster. Okay, now for the first exercise. I call this no sound rhythm training because we're going to be strumming without making a chord. Your left hand's going to go over the strings to mute them. And we'll start in the middle of the neck. Now your right hand, we're going to count 4. Go down, 1, up, don't strike the strings, 2, 3, 4. By the way, I'll be counting 1 through 4 throughout these exercises, and always you can count on the number 1 being down, 2 down, 3 down. We'll be dividing that up, and that will count for the upbeats. So the exercise is to go down and make a sound, 2, 3, 4 in time. This is a good one to start off practicing with a metronome. Now, I want you to develop your internal timing as well, so don't use the metronome all the time. But it's a good way to start off, and it's a good thing to come back to check that you're not speeding up and slowing down. So I'm going to start with 66 beats per minute. Here's what the exercise looks like now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to add the element. Every batch of 4, we're going to move the left hand. So I'll start in the middle, move up, back to the middle, and then down. Looks like this now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I'm keeping track of the groups of 4. That was 1 round. Now we're going to add an upbeat to that. Here's what it looks like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And I got to make sure I stay with the metronome. I got a little off there. Did you catch that I'm now adding an and? The upbeat is and. 1 and 2 and. Finally, one more part to the exercise. We're going to be changing that to 1E, and in other words, there's going to be a double strum to E. So it's 1E and 1E and 1E and whoops. Let's do it with moving the left hand now. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and move. 1, 2, 3, 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and then finish it up. That's the entire exercise. Go as slow as you need to. If this is too fast, just try it out with me, see how you do, and then do it on your own as slow as you need to go. Do them back to back. Start with 1, 2, 3, 4, then go to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so on. Then, when you complete the entire round, you can either start over or move on to the next thing. Exercise number 2, I call the high-low exercise. For this exercise, we're going to form a G chord, and I'm going to use a 4-finger G. It looks like this. It's that same 1, 2, 3, 4 in the same order, but I'm going to actually make a chord and work on hitting the low strings and the high strings. This adds a lot of movement to your rhythm, and you want to get to where you control which part of the chord you're hitting. So listen for a minute. 1, Did you notice I hit the low strings and then the high strings? We're going to do 2 rounds of that, so it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 1 complete round. Now we're going to add that upstroke. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then finally, the double. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... I'd recommend starting off doing this without a metronome and just do the best you can. Remember, exercise number 1 worked on your timing, so hopefully that'll transfer into this. Every now and then you could try the metronome, see how you do, and make sure you're not speeding up and slowing down. Now for exercise number 3, my favorite, but of course the more complicated, we're going to use some chords for this one. This exercise is going to use 4 chords. I'm going to use the 4-finger G, which we use for exercise number 2. I'm going to move to a D, but I'm going to leave that pinky down, which makes it a D sus, or suspended. Now I'm moving my first finger over to the 5th string, 2nd fret, leaving my 3rd and pinky down on that 3rd fret, the 2nd and 1st strings. That's the chord. It's called an E minor 7. And then finally, a C chord, we'll call this C add 9. Again, my 3rd finger and pinky are in the same place. So the 4 chords in a row are the G chord, 3rd finger and pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd and 1st strings. I've got my 1st finger on the 5th string and the 2nd finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret. Now for the D, I'm going to leave the 3rd finger and the pinky where they are and move my 1st finger over to the 3rd string, 2nd fret. I don't need to put my 2nd finger down, but I often do just out of habit. On to the next chord, an E minor 7, 1st finger over to the 5th string, 2nd fret. Again, the 3rd finger and pinky stay where they are. And then the C chord. I'm going to put my 2nd finger down on the 3rd fret, 5th string, and move my 1st finger over to the 4th string, 2nd fret. Practice those chords first. Now here's what we're going to do with them. Listen first. That's the entire exercise. Now, first of all, I'm playing 2 measures of each chord, basically 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the same chord again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 measure is 4 beats. And I'm hitting the lower strings. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and on the 3rd beat, I'm putting a little extra push. Now, the trick there is not to make the 3rd beat really loud, but make the other beats a little quieter so the 3rd beat sticks out. That sounds like this. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So start with just 1 chord. 1, and 2, and on the low strings, and then 3, a little more push, and 4, and then quiet down again. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and do it twice, then move on to the next chord. So those are your 3 exercises. Now here's your action plan. I've divided this into 4 weeks. For the first week, start with just the no-sound rhythm training exercise. Try it first without a metronome to get the hang of it, then add the metronome at a slow rhythm and pick it up little by little. Always keeping track of if you're in time and you're doing the exercise right. If it starts getting out of hand, go ahead and slow it down a little bit and then start building it up again. For week number 2, move on to the high-low exercise. Go ahead and try it with a metronome, but don't worry about it too much. The trick is to spend more energy on actually hitting the different strings and seeing how they sound. You want to, of course, keep your timing up, and if you think you're speeding up and slow down, bring out the metronome, check your tempo, and then go ahead and work without the metronome again. Week number 3, go ahead and introduce the dynamics exercise. You want to start slow and just work on the chords first. Make sure you can play that chord progression just straight down. Then start working on both hitting the low strings and high strings, and a little extra push on that 3rd beat. Experiment a little with this. You don't want to get in a habit where you can only put a little extra emphasis on the 3rd beat, but you can move it around depending on how you feel and what the song needs. And finally, for the 4th week, go ahead and play the exercises one after the other back to back. Warm up with the no-sound rhythm training, perhaps use the metronome to check your rhythm, and then move through each of the exercises quickly, one after the other. Thanks for hanging out with me in this lesson. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and click that little bell so you don't miss a thing. Did you find this lesson helpful? If you did, let me know in the comments. I really want to know what you have to say. And I'd love to hear your suggestions for other videos you'd like to see me make. And don't forget, this is not about getting to the top of the guitar playing mountain. It's about really being present to each of the steps along the way and enjoying the journey. Life is short. Give it your best. Nothing more, nothing less. Until next time.